Welcome to the Empowerment Minutes podcast, the podcast that empowers leaders with practical tools, bold inspiration, and strategies on learning, leadership, coaching, and personal growth to help you thrive in the workplace and in life. I am your host, Dr. Maurine Kwende. I help leaders and organizations become leaders people want to work for through executive leadership coaching, speaking, facilitation, instructional design. I am a learning leader, an educator, an author, an executive leadership coach, speaker, facilitator, and I am the CEO and founder of EMK Learning Solutions. I'll be happy to chat with you to learn more about what you do and how we can support each other. So this month on the podcast, we picked the theme Leading Well. WELL is an acronym, right? So WELL stands for Well-Being, Evolve, Lift, and Legacy. So the first week of August, we talked about well-being, right? And the title was The Mindful Leader's Superpower. So last week, we skipped an episode, and so this week we're back to talk about the next letter of the acronym, the E, the Evolving Leader's Superpower. So today we turn to that second pillar, evolve, because leadership is evolving. And the real question is, are you evolving? Are you? So let's talk about why evolving matters and what it really looks like and how you can grow with intention and consistency in addition to ambition, of course. So why does evolving as a leader matter? We know that the most effective leaders aren't the ones who stay the same. They're the ones who keep becoming, right? Because you can't tell me in your leadership journey, I've been in this for, about 25 years. Who I am right now is not the person that I was, 25 years ago, right? So does the world. The world is changing, right? Today we're talking about AI. We're talking about all these things that did not exist before. Technology is accelerating, in fast speed, and there's also expectations that are changing and they're rising. So teams now are even more diverse than before. There is diverse perspectives. They're global teams. Leadership models themselves are changing. So in this environment where, what worked 5 years ago may not work today, then why wouldn't the leader change? It matters, right? It matters for us to evolve. That's why the ability to evolve is more than a nice to have. It's a necessity for leadership longevity and impact. Have you seen a leader who doesn't evolve? That would never be me, and I hope that by the end of this episode, you will be, if that's you right now, that's okay. By the end of this episode, hopefully you'd learn one or two things that you can take away to help you to start moving towards that direction. When you evolve, you don't just adapt to change, right? So you're not just adapting to the change. You shape it. You're part of the change, right? So you don't just manage people. You grow yourself and others. In the process, you evolve yourself. So let's talk about what evolving looks like for a leader. When a leader is truly evolving, right, it's not just about climbing the ladder or, collecting those credentials or titles. It's about making that constant improvement, redefining yourself, and striving for a better version of you daily. So here are a few signs of an evolving leader. They seek feedback regularly. They ask, how can I do better? Not just for the sake of it, but actually apply what they hear. They embrace change. Instead of being afraid or instead of resisting it, they lean into it with openness and curiosity. They invest in growth. They read, they reflect, they join coaching programs like my cohort programs. They join different conferences. They learn new skills, improve on their skills, learn, even when they're uncomfortable. They refine their identity. They don't cling to outdated definitions or beliefs of what used to be that no longer serves them. They ask the question, and it's a tough question, who am I becoming? And evolve their leadership identity to match. They commit to daily improvement. Through small habits, better choices, and reflective moments, let's choose progress over perfection. The mindset and skills of an evolving leader. You just cannot emphasize this enough. Evolving leaders aren't just doing more, they're thinking differently. Here's some mindsets that can help you in that direction. First of all, you have to have a growth mindset, believing that your potentials expand through effort, learning, and reflection. What do you need to learn? How much are you practicing reflection daily? Right? What are some things that you can do to move forward? Okay? Let's talk about emotional agility. Are you willing to face discomfort, adapt, and stay anchored in your values? Are you teachable? Right? Are you teachable? Because not everyone is teachable or coachable. Are you resilient? Right? So being able to bounce back. We all have setbacks. How can you bounce back, and spring forward? Okay. How can you reinvent yourself? When you know that it's time that you have to make that change, what can you do to reinvent yourself? So those are some things that you can think about in terms of mindset. What about skills? Starting with self-awareness. You have to know yourself to grow yourself. Recognize those skills, strengths, blind spots. You got to be able to be intentional about active listening, taking feedback without being defensive. So listen to understand, not listen to reply. I can talk about that all day in terms of some leaders that I've worked with that are just like, okay, I'm listening to give it back to you, instead of actively listening to make those changes. Being curious, asking those questions and exploring possibilities, and actually resisting stagnation. Knowing when to pivot and when to stand firm. Are you able to, another skill that would help in this area also is about coaching and empowering yourself and others. Helping yourself and others grow as you grow. So here are some ways that you can be intentional about evolving this week. Block 20 minutes of your time and actually reflect and write down your reflection. Take time and go through, do your own self-assessment and say, what part of my leadership needs to evolve? Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? And where can I stretch, grow, or even simplify? Start your own learning loop, your own evolving learning loop. Choose one thing that you want to learn each week. Maybe a podcast, maybe an article, maybe a leadership conversation, maybe enrolling in a class. You want to maybe pair with a question like this one. How does this help me become a better version of myself? Then don't stop there. Go to your circle, people that you trust. Ask them for reflective feedback. Ask them this question. How, or maybe I would go, maybe change it this way. How have you seen me grow as a leader lately? That's a good question. And where do you think I can keep growing? So you can use this feedback from them to refine how you show up. All right? So that's your challenge for the week. Pick a self-check-in, a time of the day. Do your learning loop or even a feedback conversation. And then ask yourself, of course, how you're striving to become a better leader daily. It happens in moments. It happens in reflection and in intention. So you have to have the willingness to show up as a better you every single day. So I want to thank you for joining me on the second episode of the Leading W.E.L.L series. Right? We're still on the National Wellness Month. Leadership is evolving, and the leaders who thrive are the ones who choose to grow with it. So next week, we're going to shift and get into lift and talk about how mindful leaders raise others up through encouragement, empowerment, and trust. So if this episode resonated, don't forget to subscribe and share with your network. Until next time, keep evolving, keep leading with intention, and keep thriving and striving for the best version of you every single day. This is Dr. Maurine Kwende, your host, signing off. See you same time next week.